Hi, welcome to Englitude. Learn English and develop the right attitude. Today, I, Charu Bawa, your mentor of the day, is going to speak on the topic story writing. Humans are natural storytellers. Since our childhood, we have been listening to all sorts of stories spoken either by the grandparents or the parents, or for that matter, anyone around us. We get so much absorbed in the characters that we listen to that we think of being a part of the stories. Today, I have picked up the topic story writing, which is a major component of the writing skill. I would like you to enhance your knowledge further with the fact that what is a story? Is it a narrative? Either a true story or a fictitious, written in prose or a verse. Let me tell you that story writing, it is a tale of events that are linked either by the cause or by the effect. A story, what I feel, has got a beginning, a middle part and an ending. The beginning part, here we are going to introduce the characters that we are going to weave in our stories. The middle part, it simply talks about the name of the characters and developing the plot. Thirdly, when we move on to the end, here either the character wins or the tragedy is shown. And by the end of the story, we should give some message to the readers. And the onset of the story writing should be with a beautiful title, I would say rather an appropriate title, talking about either the main character or the plot or some message to the readers. Now let us focus on the major characteristics, or we can say the format of a story writing. Firstly, there are 5 key elements to any of the story writing. Number 1 is the theme. Second is the plot. Third is the setting of the story. Fourth is the characters that we are going to talk about in the story. And fifth, the sequence. Let us pick up the things one by one. Firstly, let me talk about the theme. It is the theme that is the central idea of any story, the major crux of the writing that we are creating. Key to writing a story is to select a theme. Theme, again, when we talk about the word theme, when we talk about the character, it has to be interconnected. When we create the theme, then we further move on to the second important characteristics of a story, that is the plot. It is more often about a conflict or a struggle that the main character goes about. The main character, which has got some ideas that one is going to talk about, the conflict with another character or inside the same character, the needs and the feelings. The conflict, as the story develops, should become more complex, should become more intense or exciting, should reach to a very high point, the climax near the end of the story, then ease off. The basic steps of plot are: when the conflict begins, how it is further enhancing the characters, how it is further leading the readers towards some solutions in their mind. Secondly, things go either the right way or the wrong way in the plot. So it is very important to connect the plot with the theme. Whatever theme we have selected, if we are talking about some very positive theme, then in the plot, the direction towards be always towards the positivity, that is optimism. Then the final victory or the defeat. Again, when we talk about the ending part of the story, we should be able to conclude that the major character, the main character, has finally come out as victorious or is defeated. And then what is the lesson learned? Then final, in the last few lines of the story writing, you must write down the wrap-up lines. That means which are the concluding lines of the story writing. Now we come on to third aspect, that is the character. We need to talk about few things about the character that we are developing in our story. The character again should match the theme of the story, the plot of the story, and the character should be very easily convergent to many of the aspects. You need to write down in your story some 2 or 3 lines about the character. How the character looks like, how the character moves, the physical movement and the emotional movement, and how the character speaks, that is the behavioral characteristics of a character. Again, they are very important for the reader to analyze. Story writing is something where you are engrossing the reader into your writing skill. Story writing reflects your point of view, your mind, your involvement, and how you are wishing the reader to incorporate your feelings into their understanding. Then we move on to the setting of the story writing, which is again a very essential component of a story writing. Here it is very important to express the place where the story is taking place and when the time when the story is taking place. Where setting stands for, it stands for the place. If you're talking about the era, the time, then which time, which era you are, you need to justify in your story writing that whatever you are talking about should go hand in hand with the completion of the story. Then in the setting, you need to incorporate the location, the sounds, the mood, the feelings, the smell. These are the small simple attributions which are really very important to understand when you are creating the setting part, because setting gives again the insight to the readers to explore their minds into these places. So when we talk about that once upon a time, that means we are taking our mind to that level of, yes, something that has happened in the long past. And when we talk about few days ago something has happened, again we are taking the mind of the reader just few days back. So one is able to analyze and realize through the setting when the story has taken place and what time, what era we are mentioning in our story writing. Now, the common mistake which the writers do while creating any story writing, that they introduce the characters but they forget to give the names to the characters. Again, this is a very major component of creating a story writing, because unless and until you give names to your character, how are you going to call them? So to create a relationship between various characters and to associate with the real life situations, it is very important to give names to your characters. Next, we move on to the next factor, which is the sequence. The sequence, that is the flow of the story, it is to be very well organized and sequenced. We need to add a very logical sequence to whatever we are writing. Logical sequence is like from step number 1 to step number 2 to the third and further on. We must not mingle away the story and leave our readers to just the surprise of not understanding the content that we are developing. All the events and elements are to be beautifully connected so as to again create the image of clear understanding. If at any point we have minus some character, we need to add on to the sequence in such a manner that after few lines we are able to again recreate the character and add on to the characters that we have talked about. Story writing is definitely a creative process. So when you are developing a story, be original in your ideas, be original in your names, be original in your plot, be very clear about which story you want to convey, why and what is there in your mind, so that when the readers they read it, they have got something new to go through. It should not be boring, it should not be repetitive. The characters should not be doing the same activity time and again. You need to explore your vocabulary also when you are creating a story. When you are writing a story, you must realize that the words every time must not be mingled. They need to be different from what you have used earlier. So, story writing, as I just said, that it is a creative process. So we need to be very free in our minds to create any story. As it is free writing skill, so it allows us great flexibility and the freedom to create. That means we are the creators of our own writing skill. Then for the creative writing, you need to go for brainstorming, which is again a very important component. Brainstorming about the characters, the events, the places or the time. So you need to again incorporate very connectively all these things into your story writing. When you are reading any story, encourage yourself to analyze, to understand, to absorb the same aspect when you are going to produce it back into your writing skill. You need to motivate yourself for the extensive reading skills. The more you read about anything, any topic, any subject, somewhere you are enhancing, upgrading your writing skill. Now, let us go with the revision of the story writing. Develop characters for theme. You should have single and short frame of the story writing so as not to go haywire into your writing skill. Then in your story writing, infuse vivid surroundings. Don't be confined to one surrounding. Create, explore, let your reader be very excited to go to various places through your story. Then the opening line has to have a very catchy beginning. If the story writing comes out with a very beautiful beginning, definitely you are able to catch the interest of your reader, and this is the purpose of the writing skill. Then keep one very simple conflict alive in your story. Let your reader, again I'm repeating, it is your part which the reader is going to read and make you really very important. So please keep it very simple, the conflict which is ever going in the mind of the reader, how to resolve, so that to keep the reader interested in reading further. Keep the theme of the story in focus. Don't get defocused, because time and again you have to move back to your theme, so that you also as a writer don't lose interest into your story writing and the reader again is feeling very engrossed into your story writing. So few themes that I'm going to talk about the story writing. Nothing remains the same. This is the title that you can give, and then now you can start writing on this topic. Nothing remains the same. Blood is thicker than the water. So these are the real life examples that you quote in your story writing also. And somewhere again, when you are creating some characters in this story, create the real life characters. So as when you are writing or your reader is reading, you are able to somewhere create a connection between the people around you. Good versus evil. As we know that these are the simplest of the stories that we can create, because we have got goodness also around us and devilish things also around us. So when we create a story like good or evil, then we are creating something which is an eye opener, which is somewhere a relief to the reader to find that yes, one can associate very comfortably to the fact that yes, I am good, or if I am doing some evilish behavior, then I must not be doing this. So here I'm ending my first session with loads of queries in your mind. For further insight, join Englitude to enhance your attitude. Thank you so very much.